Hello, and welcome to the second week of State of the Cowboy, the 28 days of February show that we're doing to sort of track the progress of what we're doing here on the channel in these 28 days. Talk a little bit about the sort of the changes going on to the channel, talk about our goals, talk about the original announcement, and talk about some of the things that happen IRL as things are going on for, sort of this 28 days of streaming effort. So with that, we're going to jump right into it. So first things first. As you can see on the screen, that is our slides. Last time we did slides as well. We're going to continue to do that. I've got some notes based on the slides, and we'll kind of dig in. And at the end of this, I will talk about a couple of changes coming in for week 3 and potentially beyond. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. All right, so first things first. This is a recap of the announcement that we did on day 1. State of the Cowboy, of course, we talked about the current state of affairs on the channel and sort of content creation in general. Thank the community and the viewers, and then of course we started talking about some of the things that are going on here. So from this announcement, a couple of bits of information that have changed. The Clay That Woke, that has not premiered yet. There's been some scheduling hiccups still going on with that. So that's, moving into the future category right now, and we'll figure out when that's actually gonna come up in a premiere. Not a big thing. Office hours for Scoundrels of Waterdeep, that's also up in the air right now. There's a couple of things going on with Scoundrels of Waterdeep, and as soon as I have more information, I will definitely be talking about that. Charity stream. We did announce the charity stream. We did have a successful charity stream. I will talk about it briefly at the end of the stream, and then I will talk about it in greater detail next week on week 3. And in reference to this, just so you know, this video is recorded after the charity stream. I'll talk a little bit more about the difficulties around sort of the weekend for, the start of the week 3 and the weekend stuff. But in short, charity stream did happen. It was a great success, and all was, fun was had by all. So we'll talk briefly about that just to kind of acknowledge it at the end. New hour-long tabletop show has not premiered yet. That will be coming, hopefully, this week, right after the premiere of week 3 of State of the Cowboy. The new show with Dr. Rubik's has premiered as of this recording. It did happen the last Sunday. We're recording this on Monday. And then, there's a couple other things that still have yet to be announced yet, but we'll talk a little bit about that. But that was basically the announcement that we kind of dug into when we did the initial sort of 28 days of February. So now we're going to go into a little bit of detail. We're going to talk about the challenges for the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to jump to my notes over here on my handy-dandy laptop so I can talk a little bit about this. So the first 3 days of week 2 was incredibly frustrating. Bandwidth issues all around. And I'll go a little bit into the details around the bandwidth issues, and I'll talk about the impacts of it. So when you're streaming, you're relying, or when you're doing any type of content creation, you're relying on a set of tools to really be able to provide the nitty-gritty basics of what you're doing. As a content creator, it's a very specific set of tools. When you're doing streaming as well, that additional set of tools includes internet access. When your internet access sucks, you deal with shit. So here at where the location where I stream from, which just happens to be where I live, we've been having non-stop problems. Drops, connections, any type of streaming happening, whether it's, I'm broadcasting here to Twitch, or I'm broadcasting, to YouTube or whatever, or it's, streaming services like Netflix or Amazon Video. Consistent, long downloads or uploads just wasn't working. And so finally, we had the text come out, and they resolved the issue. And it turns out that it was just a configuration problem. Some things were reset. Some things were sort of, kind of tweaked in order to make things better. Not going into the nitty gritty of it, I could, but I kind of want to keep this video kind of short. But at the end of the day, it took a couple days, basically a weekend, because of the way that our internet service provider works. They don't have weekend support. Bad choice, by the way. Always find a service provider that provides you weekend support. So didn't get resolved until day 11. So the weekend was kind of a hiccupy kind of a thing. And so what happened was, on day 8, the first episode of State of the Cowboy was supposed to be broadcast live. I was going to do this, I was going to record it as I was broadcasting it, and then I was going to upload that broadcast to YouTube, what ended up happening is I did exactly what I'm doing now, which is I'm recording the State of the Cowboy as a separate video, and then I will broadcast it as a part of a stream. And what that allows me to do is have a little bit more creative control and sort of sit down and kind of plan out some more things and make it a more of a manageable sort of a chunk of effort. And it allows me to kind of share some things and prep some things in a way that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do as easily if I was doing a live stream. So that happened, ended up being a rousing success. And the rest is history. We'll now be recording the rest of the State of the Cowboys and then broadcasting them live and hanging out in chat. That was a nice sort of thing that allowed me to do was I wasn't broadcasting, talking about the content on screen and interacting with chat at the same time. I was actually broadcasting, focusing on the content, and then when I premiered it, I was able to actually just hang out in chat and have a conversation with everybody. And that was a really exciting thing for me because it allowed me to be a little bit of a viewer too, but also to be a more active participant in chat, as a chatter, being able to respond more quickly and not having like content on screen, chat over here. I've got something else coming over here telling me about, stats or whatever, and I'm interacting with three things. I was actually able to focus on one thing. And it ended up being a really positive experience for me as a content creator. So that was day 8. Day 9, with the internet issues still going on, was not able to stream Scoundrels of Waterdeep. We did not do a show that day. We talked about a plan for doing some other things, and that was a really good sort of a experience in respect to realizing that planning ahead for certain content or for certain technical hiccups really allows you to kind of to do things in a way that's more of a manageable fashion. But I would call it still the IRL, sort of world, just kind of, the real world stuff, just kind of getting involved and just kind of making things difficult. That being said, I was also supposed to be on Arvin Elrond's channel for Esper Genesis, and the internet hiccups weren't necessarily so bad with just doing like a Zoom call in order to jump onto somebody else's game. So I wasn't broadcasting, I wasn't producing anything, I was just being a player in the content. Well, it turns out that there were some problems with that as well. One of the players had to bow out, so another player then decided that they could bow out too, and so we decided to do a one-shot. And we did a one-shot of Laser and Feelings, the John Harper RPG game, one-pager. Problem with that was my internet issues were so bad, the hiccups were so bad, I couldn't even get a consistent sort of usage out of Zoom, so I couldn't actually participate. And one of the things that happened was Arv asked me to step up and actually GM for that game because he wasn't prepared to do that. And it was just, the kind of thing that I'm used to being able to do is kind of jumping in and, kind of picking up, doing some real serious improv. That fell apart too, though, all because of the internet issues. So that was kind of clunky and funky and not a fun time at all. And I was really disappointed because it was the first time I was going to be playing Lasers and Feelings and running it. And I really liked the idea of the system. And I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of this particular video. But just going into it, it was a real frustrating situation. So I actually didn't really get to broadcast at all. It technically counts as day 9 in respect to I was on somebody else's stream, but I didn't last very long, and so that was really frustrating. Day 10, another situation. We were supposed to premiere the super secret show that finally premiered just this last Sunday, and there were hiccups on that day too. But we actually could not do that, and because of the way that we had it set up to be able to do from our location here, with my streaming setup, with my mic, my Yeti mic, and my cameras and everything else, Dr. Rubix and I were not able to stream, and so we eventually had to run off to a super secret location, set up a last-minute stream from my laptop, and we streamed a game called Quill. Quill is a single-player RPG where you write letters to your target in a given scenario, and you score the results to determine how well you do. Game was a lot of fun. Dr. Rubix and I had some really great ideas that sort of riffed off of that, and we're looking forward to actually implementing some of those. But again, because of the creativity came out of it, but because of it, bandwidth issues really kind of prevented us from being able to do the thing that we had originally planned to do, which was incredibly frustrating. But guess what, guys? That's just kind of the way the world works. So, Monday morning rolls around. Day 11. Internet service provider stops by, sends out their texts, they actually implement a fix. That's absolutely fantastic. Ends up being wonderful, wonderful. Broadcast, broadcast to the ingest servers. Throwing that data stream to the ingest servers for Twitch, working out really well. I develop a cold, so going from, hey, everything's great, I'm gonna be able to do this, to, oh shit, I've got a cold, which means my energy level starts to diminish really quickly. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to actually stream that day, so I took some downtime, kind of figured out, that I needed to, a way to rest and then be able to recoup, and go live. And what was really important to me about that on that day is that we actually premiered, we started a new playthrough of a new game. Well, it's not a new game, but it's a new game to me and to the channel, which is Horizon Zero Dawn. And the game is so enjoyable that I ended up streaming for a lot longer than I expected and having more energy than I expected. And it had its trade-offs. I paid for it, that night, just feeling really, really sick afterwards. But this is the kind of thing where it's like I had a cold. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. We also missed office hours because of that. Because I didn't have enough time to prep office hours because I was feeling sick. And so we just went live. We played the game, and then I paid for it afterwards. And this is that thing that most streamers will talk about when they're talking about their effort, is that take care of yourself, be healthy, take downtime, take days, that kind of a thing. In this case, I would have chosen to do that, except we were in the middle of the 28 days of streaming here, and it's really important to me that we balance sort of the the real life issues and health issues, and doing that. And making sure that we can stay to our commitment. So I wasn't dying. I wasn't going to the hospital. I wasn't in a situation where I was fevering so bad that I just wasn't going to be able to do anything. It's just, I chose to do that. And so that's the balance that you have to sort of, play with. And again, that's what I did here. Day 12 was the same thing. Did a lot of prep work for Unsung on that day because I wasn't able to do it the day previously. Did office hours that day, did all my prep for office hours. It wasn't my best show, and I'm feeling very bad about that. But it did end up being a good stream. And then we jumped over onto Unmade Gaming's channel and did Unsung. And that was a lot of fun. Let's see. Moving on to day 13. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting, and this becomes a theme for what would be the next 5 days, and I'll talk a bit more about that in week 3, talking about 15 through 17. But IRL, so in real life stuff, and then routine and scheduling, this is where it just became sort of really complex and was something that I wasn't really aware of or paying attention to when I started planning this out to do this 28 days of streaming. Even when you have a plan, that plan can not be, that plan can go to shit, or that plan doesn't necessarily address all the things that you need to anticipate, when doing real life stuff. There is a balance of, you've got 3 hours or 4 hours that you're going to be on stream, and then there's the rest of life where you have to do your day job, you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to do all of the hygienic things that you need to do, you have to spend time with your partner, you have to spend time with your friends, your kids, whatever. And you have to also get the extra work done that happens outside of streaming. So things fall apart. Things, fall to the wayside. The biggest lesson that I learned from that so far, and I'll talk, again, it'll extend into next week's State of the Cowboy in week 3. You have to communicate, and you have to be very clear. You have to be consistent, and you have to make everyone, all of the interested parties, aware what's going on. Once that happens, maybe it'll work out. I don't know. I'm gonna start working with that. But it was clear that I wasn't communicating enough, even though I had a pre-established schedule, and I was sharing that schedule with everybody that was involved in my life, and I was trying to really make sure that people and the things that I was committed to could all work together. But it's still a balancing act. It's still, you're still delicately juggling a bunch of knives that you've just got to really hold on to, grab at the right time, and just, if not, you're going to get hurt, or somebody else is going to get hurt, or there's going to be some other problem. So day 13 and 14 were absolutely, bar none, some of the most challenging days that I've had so far. They were also some of the best days stream-wise. As a part of that, I will talk a little bit about the charity stream and working up towards the charity stream and all the content stuff that goes into it. I could go and do an entire video just on working on this first charity stream, but the short of it is, wasn't enough time to prep in respect to content. I wasn't doing enough social media. I wasn't doing enough, sort of connecting with the actual cast members for the charity event. I wasn't doing enough of everything. I was really kind of, all over the place. And that's what happens when you don't have as solid of a plan and you're trying to do that as a part of like your bigger plan of doing something else. I've got a template now for what I would do for the next charity stream, and that's going to be coming next month, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But there was a lot of lessons learned just around the effort of trying to do a large event, or a relatively large event, condensed into a much larger sort of effort. And that's the real sort of challenge, balancing act and challenge that this whole 28 days has been, is just life, this effort, and then little, efforts in the middle of all of that. All right, so that's the challenges. Oh wow, that still says week 1 of challenges, even though it actually is week 2. I should fix that, but I'll fix that in post. Well, not on this video, but I'll fix that when I do the slides. I'm thinking about publishing the slides along with the videos, just so everybody has, sort of an awareness of what's going on. All right, so let's go. I'm going a little too fast. Let's talk about the stats updated, because there's something interesting happened during that Friday stream of State of the Cowboy after I recorded it and I started broadcasting it. So going back to the original stats that we started at the beginning of February, 308 followers, average of 2.5 viewers per broadcast, average of 2.5 active chatters per broadcast. And the thing that we forgot to include, and because I actually wasn't considering an important part of the 28 days at the time, is we had 2 subs to the channel. Neat thing about it, we did that first State of the Cowboy stream, and then we had an immediate sub as a part of that. And it wasn't right immediate, maybe it was right after the broadcast, but as a part of that, that really needed to happen. That talking about subscriptions and subscribers and bringing subs as a metric into this sort of stats that we're tracking. So I don't remember if I updated the slide to indicate, yes, I did update it just to acknowledge that no subscriber goal was actually talked about. 325 followers to the channel, 5 average viewers per broadcast, 5 average chatters, but no subscriber goal was really talked about. And I'm okay with sticking with that, because there's a real surprise that happened for me sort of, during that initial Friday broadcast of the State of the Cowboy. As you'll see, we get to the updated sort of current status. By the end of week 12 or week 2, we are 312, so we've got 4 followers at this point. We were 309 at the end of week 1, I believe. At the end of week 2, we were at 312. Awesome. 4 new folks who've joined the channel who are just, kind of paying attention and saying, hey, we really like you. The big interesting, jumps were the 3.9 followers, or the 3.9 viewers average to the broadcast. That's nice. That's a nice consistent climb. It's a good way, it's a good metric to kind of see that's happening. But the average number of chatters comes in to the broadcast grew more significantly than I was expecting. Thing about that to me is it's interesting the way that Twitch actually tracks chatters. If you say something once in a channel, then you're counted as a part of that average list. It's not how active you are, it's just the it's sort of a raw metric of the number of viewers that have stopped by and actually said something in chat. Still, at an average of 8 active chatters per broadcast, that's absolutely fantastic. Totally dig it. Absolutely love it. Looking forward to what that actually means as we get to work closer and closer. It's a nice to see that metric a lot, what I would say a lot higher than the initial goal, which is 5, for the end of the month. So I'm really excited about that. But the big one was subscribers. So on that Friday broadcast, we had 2 subs come in during that Friday broadcast, right around the State of the Cowboy, and then through the last day of Red Dead Online. That was awesome, completely unexpected. Really, just it's a really nice thing. It makes you feel good, and it's also an example of why I should have been tracking the metrics in the first place around subscribers. Subscribers are sort of you know, the foundation that, as I'm searching for the right way to describe it. Subscribers are sort of the foundation of, how a broadcaster, a Twitch streamer, is able to continue to do the things that they do. It's from that type of support. So I want to say a big thank you to those two subscribers. That was Mr. Dew and Brahms in chat. So thank you guys. I just want to make sure that your names got into this video, because it was a big sort of surprise moment, and a huge sort of like awesome. This is fantastic. So that's week 2. There's been some more stuff that have gone on during week 3, and I can't wait to talk about week 3. But we will get to that. We will get to that this coming Friday, and looking forward to that. So I'm going to end this by going right back to the top and talk about a couple things real quick. A couple changes to State of the Cowboy that's coming. State of the Cowboy is essentially me putting together a set of slides and just kind of riffing on it and talking very unscripted about some of these things. I have started to take notes and started to have bullet points for me, for talking points for me to be able to highlight as a part of these. I'm going to continue that effort with a goal of trying to be a lot more informative and on point about some of the things that I'm talking about. So this is still going to be an unscripted sort of communication. It's going to be an unscripted thing to talk about. The difference is there will be a little bit more structure to it, and I'm trying to figure out what's the right structure for it. If it still makes sense to focus around the slides, or if it makes sense to sort of find a different format and just use the slides as sort of a reference point. Still working on that. If you guys have any feedback, let me know either in chat, in the Discord, or in on the YouTube comments. Second thing coming. So first is it's going to go a little less unscripted. Second thing that's going to happen is we are going to do this beyond the 28 days. I think this is interesting because there's not a lot of this type of content going on, as far as I can tell. There are some streamers who are doing some element of this. They're doing YouTube videos, how-to videos. I'm not seeing anybody who's actually talking about the state of their channel week over week, or state of content creation and their effort week over week. The desire here is to really kind of get into the nitty-gritty and talk about some of the challenges that happens. What that means is that there are slight format changes that are probably going to come to those slides as well, on top of the unscripted versus bullet nature, sort of bullet point nature of things. I will probably, as we get past week 4 and we go into week 5, or however we're going to talk about it then, we'll probably move away from the day-to-day sort of, this is a breakdown of day 32, and this is a breakdown of day 33, and we will just talk about the larger issues. That change may not happen by week 3. I'm expecting it to happen by week 5. It all depends on how well it's received to talk about those particular day-to-day issues through the 28 days, but also just how the notes start to sort of come together and coalesce into some real bullet point information that allows me to sort of convey and sort of riff on it. So that's the second point, is that after week 4 we are still going to continue to do this. I don't have a complete picture of what beyond week 4 is going to be, especially since March is still sort of in flux about what the schedule is going to be, and what kind of content is going to be produced for the channel at that point. But I will have more information by the time we broadcast week 3. The final point that I want to talk about is with this information, with sort of the bullet points and sort of breaking down and doing a consistent week over week thing, it also allows me to kind of talk about some of the larger challenges in a more condensed format. And so probably at the end of the episodes for State of the Cowboy, after we kind of dug into all the information and the details, I will start broadcasting, or I will start sharing more information specifically around some of the larger issues. Maybe I'll talk about technical problems, maybe I'll talk about my bandwidth problems, and or maybe I'll talk about mental health issues, or the IRL versus routine versus schedule. I don't know. The goal there, though, is to kind of have a little bit more time to really talk about some of the core issues that are popping up, and we'll make sure that it's, you know, sort of a, you know, a plugged thing at, you know, at the beginning of it. You know, we're gonna do the goals and issues. We're gonna talk about, you know, the state of things, and then we're gonna talk about this in depth. And when we do that, I don't know. I had a really great idea about maybe potentially having, you know, somebody join me for that part of the conversation, and then just talking about that particular element of streaming in general, so, or content creation in general. So, anyways, that's it. That's State of the Cowboy. That's week 2. That is, you know, day 14, you know, 8 through 14 of 28 days of February. Guys, thank you very much. If you are watching this on the channel and you are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that follower button and say hello in chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscriber button and make sure you acknowledge the notification button, because apparently that's the only way you get really notified for things. And so with that, guys, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you later. Have a good one. See you in week 3.